Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, everybody. Right, while.
Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Mukund Prabhu. I can see you, Urmila Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Kusum Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Mataji. Hare Krishna, Urmila Ben.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Mohan Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Namaga Mataji, Shobna Mataji, Chandrajitana Prabhu is there.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Bharti Mataji, Mitali Mataji, Divya Gaurangi Mataji, Hema Mataji, Santosh Mataji,
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Shobna Mataji, Hare Krishna, Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Just give me 1 second, I've got a call coming in.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Bhagavati Mataji. So, I don't have names actually. Sorry, I forgot to look at the sheet earlier. Can you remind me who's chanting today?
Yes, Prabhuji. Santosh Mataji here. I'll be reciting the English and Bhagavati Mataji is reciting the Sanskrit.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful, great, thank you. So let me just share the screen and you can start away. Okay. So today we're starting from text 20 and going all the way to the end.
Yes.
Okay, so you can start whenever you're ready.
Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. To all my Vaishnavas, Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. I'm doing the chapter 13 and from 20 is Atha Trayodaso Adhyayaha Kshetra Kshetrajna Vibhaga Yogaha. Text 20. Prakrim Purusham Cheva Vidya Anadi Ubhavapi Vikramscha Gunam Cheva Vidhi Prakriti Sambhava.
Material nature and the living entities should be understood to be beginningless. Their transformations and the modes of matter are products of material nature.
Karyaka 21. Karyakarana kartitve hetu prakti uchayate purusha sukha dukhanam bhoktri vehetu uchayate.
Nature is said to be the cause of all material causes and effects, whereas the living entity is the cause of the various sufferings and enjoyments in this world.
Text 22. Purusha prakriti stiho hi bhunkte prakriti jan guna karanam guna sangosya sad asayoni janmasu.
The living entity in material nature thus follows the ways of life, enjoying the three modes of nature. This is due to his association with that material nature. Thus, he meets with good and evil amongst various species.
Text 23. Upadrishta tanumantancha bhakta bhokta maheshwara paramama meti chapi ukto dehesmin purusho para.
Yet, in this body, there is another, a transcendental enjoyer, who is the Lord, the Supreme Proprietor, who exists as the overseer and permitter, and who is known as the Supersoul.
Text 24. Ya evam veti purusham prakritim cha gune saha sarvatha vartamano api naso bhuyo vijayate.
One who understands this philosophy concerning material nature, the living entity, and the interaction of the modes of nature is sure to attain liberation. He will not take birth here again, regardless of his present position.
Text 25. Dhyanatmani pashyanti kechit atmanam atmana anya sankhena yogena karma yogena chapari.
Some perceive the Supersoul within themselves through meditation, others through the cultivation of knowledge, and still others through working without fruitive desires.
26. Anetve evam ajantaha srutya vanepya upasate tepi chati tarantya eva mrityum shruti parayana.
Again, there are those who, although not conversant in spiritual knowledge, begin to worship the Supreme Person upon hearing about him from others. Because of their tendency to hear from authorities, they also transcend the path of birth and death.
Text 27. Yavat sanjayate kinchit sattvam satvarag changamam kshetra shretregna samyogat tadvidi bharata shrabha.
O chief of the Bharatas, know that whatever you see in existence, both the moving and the non-moving, is only a combination of the field of activities and the knower of the field.
Text 28. Samam sarvesu bhuteshu tishtinantam parameshwaram vinasyati sa avinashyantam yaha pasyati sa pasyati.
One who sees the Supersoul accompanying the individual soul in all bodies, and who understands that neither the soul nor the Supersoul within the destructible body is ever destroyed, actually sees.
29. Samam pasyan hi sarvatra samavasthitam ishwaram na hinasti atmanam manam tato yati param gatim.
One who sees the Supersoul equally present everywhere, in every living being, does not degrade himself by his mind. Thus, he approaches the transcendental destination.
Text 30. Prakriti eva cha karmani kriya manani sarvasa ya pashyati tatha atmanam akatraram sa pasyati.
One who can see that all activities are performed by the body, which is created of material nature, and sees that the self does nothing, actually sees.
Text 31. Yada bhuta prithak bhavam eka saham anupasyati tata eva cha vistaram brahma sampadyate tada.
When a sensible man ceases to see different identities due to different material bodies, and he sees how beings are expanded everywhere, he attains to the Brahman conception.
Text 32. Anadvitvam nirguna avat paramamayam avayaha sarirastopi konteya nakaroti na lipyate.
Those with the vision of eternity can see that the imperishable soul is transcendental, eternal, and beyond the modes of nature. Despite contact with the material body, O Arjuna, the soul neither does anything nor is entangled.
Text 33. यथा सर्वागतं संस्मयात् अक्षं नोपालिप्यते सर्वत्र अवस्थितो देहे तथात्मा नोपालिप्यते.
The sky, due to its subtle nature, does not mix with anything, although it is all-pervading. Similarly, the soul situated in Brahman, vision, does not mix with the body, though situated in that body.
Text 34. Yatha prakshayati eka krishnam lokam imam ravi kshetram kshetri tatha kshetnam prakashyati bharata.
O son of Bharata, as the sun alone illuminates all this universe, so does the living entity, one within the body, illuminate the entire body by consciousness.
Text 35. Kshetra kshetrajño evam antaram gnana chakshusha bhuta prakriti moksham cha evidu yanti te param.
Those who see with eyes of knowledge the difference between the body and the knower of the body, and can also understand the process of liberation from bondage in material nature, attain to the supreme goal. Hare Krishna.
Om Tat Sat iti Srimad Bhagavad Gita-shu Upanishadsu Brahma Vidyam Yogeshwar Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Kshetra Shretnadya Yogo Nama Trayodasha Adhyayaha. Thank you for everything. Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. Thank you, Bhagavati Mataji. Thank you for a nice recitation in Sanskrit. A little bit more attention on the ers and ahs. Some of them they were sort of slightly going off, but otherwise you were quite nice. Thank you so much, Santosh
Thank
Mataji.
you.
Thank you for very fluent English. Thank you so much, Santosh Mataji.
Thank you.
Bhagavati Mataji, I hope you don't mind. I know you're very senior.
No, very fine. Thank you so much for telling me. It's very nice. Thank you. I have to look into that definitely. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, so let's go to today's verse. I could share my okay. So you can see the sloka now?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. Sometimes, this, I'm not sure which screen is shared and sometimes doesn't work properly. Anyway, so yes, we continue reading Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 13. We're on text 20 now. So we'll recite this verse and then take it from there. Prakritim Purusham Chaiva Vidyanadi Ubhavapi Vikramscha Gunamschaiva Vidhi Prakriti Sambhavan. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Material nature and the living entities should be understood to be beginningless. Their transformations and the modes of matter are products of material nature. So we've got two paragraphs here, one short one and one slightly longer. So again, I'll just go to wherever I can see on here. So I've got Bindu Mataji, if you can do the first paragraph, Bindu Mataji, if you can hear me. And Ila Ben, is Ila Mataji there? If you can ask you to the second, see if let's see who opens. Bindu Mataji, are you there? No? Okay. Then Hare Krishna.
Can I recite the first chapter?
Yes, Puja Mataji, please go. Yes, go for it. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. By the knowledge given in this chapter, one can understand the body, the field of activities, and the knowers of the body, both the individual soul and the supersoul. The body is the field of activity and is composed of material nature. The individual soul that is embodied and enjoying the activities of the body is the Purusha or the living entity. He is one knower and the other is the supersoul. Of course, it is to be understood that both the supersoul and the living entity are different manifestations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The living entity is in the category of his energy, and the supersoul is in the category of his personal expansion.
Thank you so much, Puja Mataji. So, okay, next we see, excuse me, Jai Shri Mataji, Jai Shri Mystery. If you can read the second paragraph.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, yes.
Thank you.
Both material nature and the living entity are eternal. That is to say that they existed before creation. The material manifestation is from the energy of the Supreme Lord, and so also are the living entities, but the living entities are of the superior energy. Both the living entities and material nature existed before this cosmos was manifested. Material nature was absorbed in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Maha-visou, and when it was required, it was manifested by the agency of mahat-tattva. Similarly, the living entities are also in him, and because they are conditioned, they are averse to serving the Supreme Lord. Thus, they are not allowed to enter into the spiritual sky. But with the coming forth of material nature, these living entities are again given a chance to act in the material world and prepare themselves to enter into the spiritual world. That is the mystery of this material creation. Actually, the living entity is originally the spiritual part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. But due to his rebellious nature, he is conditioned within material nature. It really does not matter how these living entities or superior entities of the Supreme Lord have come in contact with material nature. The Supreme Personality of Godhead knows, however, how and why this actually took place. In the scriptures, the Lord says that those attracted by this material nature are undergoing a hard struggle for existence. But we should know it with certainty from the descriptions of these few verses that all transformations and influences of material nature by the three modes are also productions of material nature. All transformations and variety in respect to living entities are due to the body. As far as spirit is concerned, living entities are all the same.
Thank you so much, Jai Shri Mataji. Very eloquent. Thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Ajnanati Mirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Charu Swami Niti Namine Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Pashaya Desha Tarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So wonderful purport, nice text, nice basic interesting information for us to have. So let me now just share my PowerPoint. So a summary, seems like a long time ago we started this chapter, although it was a few days ago. Shows you how much information is packed in this chapter, so it seems like a long time ago. So Arjun asked the 6 questions, and Krishna answers the first couple. Then 8 to 12, the wonderful section where Krishna explained the process of knowledge and liberation. 13 to 19, Krishna explains the object of knowledge. And now this current section, which starts today, 20 to 26, Krishna explains Prakriti, Purusha, and their union. Today's verse is 20. We've already recited the verse. Just remind ourselves about the translation. Material nature and the living entities should be understood to be beginningless. Their transformations and the modes of matter are products of material nature. Let me just look at the Prakriti and just here. So here the Sanskrit is pretty straightforward, except in the second line you've got to add the Y to A. So if instead of saying Vidhi Anadi, you say Vidyanadi. So that removes one syllable. Otherwise, it doesn't fit into the meter. Otherwise, everything else is quite straightforward. So, as usual, we'll pick up the nice points the Prabhupada makes in the purport. Prabhupada says, by the knowledge given in this chapter, one can understand the field of activities and the knower of the field. So these are the first couple of answers that Krishna gave. So let's see who remembers what. So what is the field of activity? Oh, yeah, field of activities.
Body.
The body. Very good. Thank you. The body is the field of activities, and knowers of the field.
Soul.
Soul and the super soul.
Soul.
You got the individual soul and the super soul. So in Sanskrit, the individual soul is called
Jivatma?
Atma.
Jivatma or Atma, correct. But both is
Atma,
correct.
yeah.
And then the super soul is called
Paramatma.
And there's one more term that's sometimes used. Anybody can say what is the Atma and the Paramatma in another Sanskrit term? Starting from B.
And Vibhu?
Vibhu, that is comparing
Bhagwan.
Brahman
Brahman and
Parabrahman.
Parabrahman.
This is how you see Prabhupada's purports, and also in the text, sometimes you have these words used, so we know what they relate to. Then in the purport, Prabhupada says the individual soul that is embodied and enjoying the activities of the body is Purusha. So he is the enjoyer. It's like the analogy given in the Upanishads about the 2 birds in the tree. One bird is enjoying the sweet and sour fruits of the tree. Another bird is watching and just noting. So the bird that's enjoying the fruits is us. So the living entity lives this life enjoying the 3 modes of nature. There'll be some nice verses coming up, actually 21, 22, which will explain this in detail. 21 talks about the state of the Supersoul. The Supersoul is Upadrashta Anumanta. Upadrashta Anumanta. So the Supersoul is watching, well, whereas us, the living entities, the jivas, we are enjoying the fruit. Sometimes they're sweet, so we have nice time. Sometimes they're sour, so we are suffering. But it's all to do with us. The Supersoul is Upadrashta, that means it's just watching. Then Anumanta means it's also at the end of the day, without the Supersoul's permission, we can't do anything. So initially what happens is the Supersoul tries, when we try to do something which is not correct, the Supersoul will try and dissuade us. But if we insist, then just like sometimes our children, we are in the supermarket, they'll start crying, they want the chocolate. We'll try and convince them it's not good for you, not good for your teeth. But if the child really starts to make a scene, then rather than have a big problem, we just buy him a chocolate. Similarly, the Lord will say, okay, fine, if that's what you want to do, go ahead. But be prepared for the consequences. So, and the Supersoul is overseer and permitter, as we already discussed. Anumanta. So in the next verse, you will tomorrow, I think it's going to be Madhu Kumari who will explain all this to you. then Prabhupada said both the Supersoul and individual entity are different manifestations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The living entity is in the category of his energy. So the Lord has multifarious energies. Prabhupada often quotes the verse from the Upanishad. This is Svetasvatara Upanishad. Parasya Sakti Vividhaiva Suryate. You will hear Prabhupada say quite often in his classes. So he's got multifarious energies, but they're generally divided into three primary categories. What are the three categories? Anybody?
External and internal.
Yes.
And marginal.
Yes. Perfect. Yes. Internal, external, and then marginal. What is the internal energy? Sorry, let's see Sanskrit. I'm going to go by the way I put the slides together. So, what is the Sanskrit for internal energy? Antarangi. Antarangi Shakti. And then external?
Bahirangi.
Bahirangi, very nice. Bahirangi. And the marginal?
Tathastha.
Very nice, Ajay Mukund Prabhu. Tathastha Shakti. So these are the Sanskrit terms for these three energies, these three categories. And then the English for these. So the Antarangi Shakti is?
External.
The Lord and the spiritual world. That's his internal potency. That's Antaranga Shakti. That everything to do with the Lord and the spiritual world is his internal potency, energy. And external is?
Material world.
Material world, perfect. Material creation is external. And then Tathastha?
Living entity.
Living entities.
Yeah, all of us. So very nicely divided this. Tathastha, the word Tathastha, we say Tata. When we go to a bank of a river. So he said is a Tata, that's called Tata. Tata, not Tata, but Tata, Tathastha. So Tathastha means almost can say a boundary, right? Or like say, so if you're on the bank of a river, you can go and take a dip in the river, or you can go and come out and go more towards the land side. Similarly, the living entities have the option to remain in the material world or go to the spiritual world. All of us today here on this class, we are trying to do activities that will take us closer to the spiritual world. But there are loads and loads of our friends and families, as we know, who have no inclination of doing this, and they're getting deeper and deeper into the material world. So this is why it's Tathastha, because we as a living entity, we have the choice, especially in the human body. We have the choice to make that decision whether we want to go deeper into the material world or start making our way out of it. Prabhupada then says, Supersoul is the category of his personal expansion. So he's marginal. Supersoul is himself as an expansion of Krishna. And Prabhupada says here in a letter, when somebody was complaining about something, he said, don't feel yourself to be alone, because Krishna is always with you. Krishna is always with every living entity as Supersoul. And to his devotee, especially, he talks and gives instructions how to attain the perfectional stage of meeting him. So don't feel alone. Always chant whenever possible. Read our books, and there will be no great difficulty. So this devotee obviously must have written to Prabhupada saying, Prabhupada, I'm feeling lonely here, whatever, I'm missing you, whatever. Then Prabhupada is giving him this, like, yes, the Supersoul is there with you all the time. And the more we advance in devotional service, the more we will hear his voice. Often I use this analogy that who said, one of the Swamis, Radhanath, sorry, how come the name just went away? Radhanath Swami, we use this analogy that we all have two dogs, the bad dog and the good dog, but we've been feeding the bad dog for so many lifetimes that the bad dog is so loud that we can't hear the faint barking of the good dog. But the more you go into the spiritual side, you're feeding the good dog, and then eventually you will hear the good dog. It sounds a bit strange to say dog when we were talking about the Supersoul, but there was an analogy that Maharaj used very nicely. So Krishna is so far. When you say Krishna, where is Krishna? Krishna is Golok Vrindavan. That's his abode. But yet he's so close by his expansion. So he's right within us, right next to us. So it's up to us. The option is for us to try and hear him, or to ignore him and hear everything else. So talking about expansions, we can just have a quick look. We've seen this slide before. It's very small to see on the screen, I think, right now, but you can have a closer look later. Nicely explaining Krishna's expansion. So Krishna, he's called Swayam Rupa. He himself is called Swayam Rupa. That's Krishna. Then his next expansion is Swayam Prakasha. Swayam Prakasha is and that Swayam Prakash, which means his Prakash. That's his immediate expansion, and that is divided into two: Prabhava and Vaibhava. So Prabhava refers to the expansions which are identical to him in the mood and bodily features, and the examples of that are in the Rasa dance. He expands himself into 16,100. Also, much more than that. But also in each of the palaces, when he marries the 16,000 queens, he expands into each palace equally. He's in the same mood, same body. But then Vaibhav Prakash is where he's expanding in a different mood, different body. And the example there is Lord Balaram. And that expansion is also called Tat Ekatma Rupa. So then further, there are other expansions. There's the Vilas expansions, and there is Swamsa. And there is one more, which is not on this chart, which is Vibhinamsa. So Vilas expansions are generally the 4 round forms of Vishnu, and they are again divided into two, Prabhava Vilas and Vaibhava Vilas. So Prabhava Vilas is the first set of the Chaturvyuha, Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, and then Vaibhava Vilasa is the second set. So these are all expansions of the Vilas nature. Then you've got the Swamsa. Swamsa are divided into 6 further categories. So we've got Lila Avtaras, Purusha Avtaras, Guna Avtaras, Shakti Avtaras, and Manvantara Avtaras, and Yuga Avtaras. So these are all explained in this chart very nicely. Lila Avtaras, we can understand all the Lila Avtaras are avatars like Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, Narsimha. These are all Lila Avtaras. Purusha Avtaras are the 3 Purusha Avtaras, 3 main Avtaras. These are the Vishnu Avtaras: Karanodakshai Vishnu, Garbhodakshai Vishnu, and Kshirodakshai Vishnu. Guna Avtaras are Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh. They are in charge of the 3 gunas. Then you've got Shaktiya Avtaras. So these are again divided into 2, Avtaras and Vibhutis. So Avesha Avtaras are the 4 Kumaras: Narada Muni, Brahma, Vedavyas, Parshuram, Prithu Maharaj. These are all Shakti Avtaras. And then Vibhuti are Avtaras in the sense, they're expansions, like when he says in the 10th canto, of all the mountains, I am Mount Meru. Of the unmovable objects, I am Himalayas. Among the demigods, I am Prithu, does it say? I am I'm Indra. Among the sages, I'm Prithu, like that. Right? So these are all his vibhuti. And Manvantara Avtaras, we know these are the Manus. There are 14 Manus in the day of Brahma, and each Manu rules for 71 Chatur Yugas. Those are Manvantara Avtaras. And then you got Yuga Avtaras. You got there's an avatar for every Yuga. In Satya Yuga, there was the what was the avatar in Satya Yuga? Hamsa Avatar, yes. Hamsa Avatar. And then in Treta Yuga, it was the
Ramachandra.
no, in terms of that's Leela Avatar. That's Lila avatar. That's also Lila avatar. One with Yageshwar avatar. And then Krishna, he himself came in Dwapar Yuga. That is like his avatar. And then Yuga avatar for Kali Yuga is actually the Harinam. Harinam is a Yuga avatar. Or you can say Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is a Yuga avatar. So this is how the avatars. And then, as I said, the missing on this chart, somehow they ran out of paper, I think, is the Vibhin Amsa avatar. Who is a Vibhin? Which category is Vibhin Amsa? Anybody? So Swanamsa means my own expansions, and Vibhin means separated.
Is the living entities?
Living entities, yes, thank you. Yes, that's it. These are expansions. So this is very nice information to keep, because that gives a very good explanation in our head of where everybody stands in the hierarchy. Then Prabhupada says both material nature and the living entity are eternal, right? So when I first used to read this, I was thinking, hold on a second, we say that this material nature, it gets dissolved, doesn't it? After Brahma's life, there are 2 or 3 types of dissolutions, but the final dissolution is at the end of Brahma's 100 years. So then how is it eternal? So can anybody explain why material nature, living entity says both are right? Material nature and living entity are eternal. Yes, we understand living entity are eternal, and there's a sloka we'll quote about that. But how is material nature eternal?
Because it's a Lord's energy.
Yes, that's a good point, Krishna Mataji.
Material nature comes in when the material when Krishna he takes away the whole expansion into himself, but he takes the material nature as well in himself.
Yes.
But when the whole universe is created again, the material nature comes back.
Very good. Thank you so much, Krishna. That's perfect. Exactly right. So because when we say that the material nature at the end of annihilation, it is destroyed. It's destroyed, yes, but all the elements are taken back by Lord Vishnu into the spiritual world. So it's a question of being unmanifest. It's not that it is actually destroyed completely. It is eternal in the sense that it is unmanifest at the stage, and then when the time is right again, it becomes manifest again. The example that Prabhupada gives in his lectures is like the sunset. When the sun set today at whatever time it did, 4:35, 5 o'clock, the sun didn't disappear. To us, the sun is gone. That doesn't mean the sun is actually destroyed itself, right? It is the fact that the sun is now shining somewhere else. So it'll be manifest again for us tomorrow morning. So that way, we need to keep that understanding that the material nature also, it never actually is non-existent. In some form, it is existing. We'll go through it in a minute. We'll explain. But about the living entities being eternal, beautiful verse. We just did it recently, 15:7. Anybody? Mamaimasu jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana manashastanendriyani prakriti-stani karshati. So sanatana means eternal. So living entities, translation says, the living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to conditioned life, they're struggling very hard with the 6 senses, which include the mind. So eternal, of course, we are eternal. Living entity is never destroyed. In the 2nd chapter, of course, there are many, many verses explaining how the soul cannot be destroyed. Then in terms of the material nature, we can see often the terms we will hear about material nature is pradhan, mahat-tattva, and prakriti. Right? These are the terms you will see in purports and in texts. So pradhan, I used to always be confused because pradhan and mahat-tattva almost sometimes are used interchangeably. And I used to always ask different people, what does it mean? And I never seem to get a proper answer. But then finally, when I asked my Guru Maharaj, Bhakti Charu Maharaj, once he gave me a proper answer. And this is how he explained it. So the pradhan is a subtle total sum of all material elements in its unmanifested and undifferentiated state. You see, so when, as Krishna Mataji explained, when the material world is dissolved, everything goes, like all the living entities go back into Vishnu's body and take rest until the next time. And similarly, all the elements are then taken back and they're all mixed up. So it's all basically like one. And I think there's a term that is used, what do you call it? Primordial soup, they call it, don't they? Where it's not differentiated. It's just like one homogeneous substance. So it's unmanifested and it also homogeneous, it's undifferentiated. That's the state of Pradhan. And then what happens to it is when the Lord wishes, he then, by his will, he then gives it instructions, and then the total material elements, they become manifest at this stage. But at this stage, it is still undifferentiated. Everything is still not so clearly defined. So, but at this stage, because the Lord has already given his glance, it now is manifest. And then finally, mahat-tattva. This is the material. This is where they are manifest and also differentiated. So this is the playtime, mahat-tattva time. The three modes of material nature come into being. They become manifest, and this is now ready. As soon as this happens, when mahat-tattva happens, then the creation is just about to begin. So this is how you see it. If you see it from our point, mahat-tattva is first. If you look at it from the spiritual world, Pradhan is first. So it's very nice explanation I got from Guru Maharaj. This material nature is constant transformation, but nature, living entity, the nature of living entity is unchanging, isn't it? We can see even through our body, the body changes its form and its ability to do things, whatever, but the spirit soul remains the same. So throughout, the soul does not change, but matter, just by its nature, is always changing. So while matter is insentient, which is matter, it cannot move by itself, but jiva shakti is sentient, and it's because of the jiva presence of the jivas in the material world that matter seems to move and do things. Without the jivas, there will be no movement here. Prabhupada continues, material nature was absorbed in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Maha-visou, and when it was required, it was manifested by the agency of mahat-tattva, just like Krishna Mataji explained. So he continues, similarly, the living entities are also in him, and because they are conditioned, they are averse to serving the Supreme Lord. Thus, they are not allowed into the spiritual sky. See, this is it. The living entities who have perfected their lives, who have perfected their spiritual life, who have made themselves eligible to go back, they will not enter into Maha-Vishu's body, but they will go straight back to the spiritual world. Well, I say straight back. There's a different way they go. The living entity doesn't go directly to the spiritual world. It first goes to a place of pastime within the universe where Krishna is doing his pastimes, and he gets a chance to actually do the pastime with Krishna, and then later he goes to spiritual world. But that's a separate matter. Point here is that those who have been materially engrossed and have not used their human life profitably, they will go back, and then they'll be sent down again when the material world is manifest again. Then it says, but with the coming forth of material nature, these living entities are again given a chance to act in the material world and prepare themselves to enter into the spiritual world. And Prabhupada says, this is the mystery of the material creation. See, mystery, this is a mystery. Many people ask, don't they? Whenever we speak about, I know I've been asked many times, whenever there's a subject about the spiritual world and I'm giving a class, people will be fixed, like really fixed in terms of listening to how beautiful the spiritual world is, and some beautiful verses that you can chant about the state of the spiritual world. And somebody will always ask, if that is so beautiful, why did we come back? How can we leave that? Why did we leave? We were all there. Yes, we all know we were there. But we came back here. We came down here somehow. But why? But this is the mystery, Prabhupada is saying, because we, for some reason, had the desire to enjoy separately from Krishna. So Krishna created this material world. So this is the secret. This material world is created to give us a chance to act in this material world, to learn our lessons, and then get ourselves prepared to go back to the spiritual world. This is the purpose of the material world, not to enjoy. That's the whole point. Material world is not there for our enjoyment. The material world is there for our reformation. Just like a prison, yes, in one sense is there for punishment, lock somebody away for 5 years or whatever. But the main purpose should not be just to keep them out and punish them. The main purpose should be reforming them. That's why the prisons are called reform centers. So similarly, this whole material world is for us as a reform center, but most of us are blind to that fact, and we just carry on enjoying the material world, and then that way dig bigger and bigger holes for ourselves. Prabhupada said it does not really matter how these living entities have come in contact with material nature. The Supreme Personality of Godhead knows, however, how and why this actually took place. So you see, again, sometimes people ask, how did we come here, right? So Prabhupada then gives the example that, instead of wasting time to try and figure out how we got here, we should utilize every moment that we have to do something about getting out. And he says, the example he gives is, if there's somebody drowning, for example, right? You happen to be a very good swimmer, and you're near a lakeside or near a river, and you see somebody drowning. So what do? Do you just stand on the bank and say, how did you get in there? Or do you jump in and just save him first? So no, of course, you just jump in, save him, ask questions later. We will never find the answer of why and how we came here, because that answer is not here. That answer is in the spiritual world. And Prabhupada said here, the Supreme Personality of Godhead knows this. So the answer is there, it's not here. No matter how many people you ask here, nobody will be able to tell you that. The topmost spiritualist here cannot tell you that. The answer is there. So when we go back, then we'll find out why, how we make, what was wrong with our mentality that we were sent here. So that's that. So anyway, understanding this chapter basically will lead us to take steps towards spirituality. I think this is so this ends the session for today. What I wanted to do quickly is just remind, today is the 1st of December, and what is December famous for? Book distribution. So again, a reminder to everybody, we all know about this Live to Give and the Gita project. I think most of us are taking part. I know some of us are doing really, really well. Hema Ben is doing extremely well as usual. With the Bhadra campaign, she did so well, and also with this one, she's leading the pack. So thank you so much. Let's take inspiration from her and continue doing this. But what I wanted to do also is to also share with all of you some other things that are going on, initiatives that we can take part of. So this is the first one, which we know about, 108 families we're looking for, and we're all taking part in that Bhagavad Gita campaign. Then we have another campaign where it's a corporate outreach. So it's well-being packs. So devotees will be in the next few days preparing packs. This will include a couple of nice small books with some chanting beads, some prasadam, stuff like this, some leaflets, which will be sent out to all corporate people. So there'll be service required here in terms of packing, making contacts, going out and delivering, stuff like this. So that's something else we can get involved in. Charity begins at home. So the manor has got a database of 25,000 people who actually devotees. They may not be full-time devotees, but people who have made donations in the past, have helped the temple in the past. So these people are very favorable to the temple, of course. So the database is there. because of COVID, we can't go and visit people just at random. So we're going to do, we start off with, we'll take 1,000 names from there first to see how it goes. They will set up a call center, so you can get involved in that to go help with the calling of the people. Idea is to call these people rather than calling. We'll call them and say, calling from the temple, and as a thank you gesture, we'd like to come and deliver you a small gift. And then make an appointment, and at that time, there'll be another team who will then take in these packs to them. So that is that incentive we can get, initiative we can get involved in. Groceries, we already know from our sessions in Sankirtan group, there are people who are approaching local corner stores. Restaurants maybe not so much nowadays because they're probably not open. Most of them are just doing takeaway. But yeah, they are. You could try that as well, I suppose. But there you can maybe convince the owners to maybe keep Bhagavad Gitas there and collect donations. So that's one. Children's Gita competitions, we're working on something. I think Divanam is working on this, or somebody else, to create the competition that maybe you can help out with. And then World Gita Day. So on the 25th of December, which is the Gita Day, the Jayanti Day itself, then we're going to have a major celebration. It will be all virtual, but there'll be a lot of service related to that. We're hoping to invite 10,000 people to come online at one time to celebrate the Gita Jayanti. So this is somewhere we'll need some service. So all of us can do something from here. So let's try and do something this year. This year is a very strange year because we don't have the normal easy way. We just take the books and go on the streets. We can't do that. So we're going to find some way. Let's find a way to do something. Prabhupada says here, if you can't do, you simply think, how can I do? How can I do? How can I do? Simply this, if you practically cannot do, but if you simply think that how can I do, then also you will become liberated. Then also you will, he repeats, then also you will be liberated. And what to speak of when we actually do something. So keep this in our mind. Let's just, each of us think, what can I do? How can I help? And then, a little bit from a lot of people works rather than it's a few doing a lot. So let's do our bit, just like when Lord Ram wanted to build the Setu going to Lanka. You had the big, huge monkeys carrying massive boulders and putting them on the sea. Then you had a little squirrel taking a few little pebbles. But Lord Ram appreciated both equally. So let's keep that in mind. And we'll stop here. And I'll just invite any questions, any comments on the text today, as well as the book distribution. Any questions?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Prabhu, oh my God, it's echoing. It's echoing, isn't it? Okay,
No,
now
we can hear you quite well.
okay. I just wanted to ask you, Prabhu, is Prithu Maharaj, it's a Shakti race avatar? He is,
Yes.
yeah?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to know, but he's not coming in this 10, but he is a Shakti race avatar.
Yes, exactly. He doesn't come as one of the Leela avatars, but he's a Shakti avatar, yes.
Okay, yeah. Thank you, Prabhu. Just want to confirm.
Hare Krishna, Mukunda-Hari Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Krishnavani Mataji.
Prabhuji, I just wanted to clarify that, living entities are eternal, but as you said, that Sri Prabhupada saying that material nature is also eternal, means, like at the end of annihilation, all the material ingredients enter into Maha-Visou's body.
So actually the living entities enter into Maha-Visou's body, but all the elements, they go into the spiritual sky and they remain like a cloud in one corner of the sky.
Oh, okay.
And then until the Lord Vishnu glances at it, it remains unmanifest.
Okay, then it manifests, yeah?
Yes.
When it glances. Okay. Yeah, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
So when in annihilation we enter the Mahavishnu, does the Paramatma accompany us then, or because we are in Mahavishnu, the Paramatma is not with us?
Oh, that's an interesting question. That's an interesting question. It says that the Paramatma is always with us. And that's something that, yes, it's a food for thought. Actually, I'm not sure. I never thought about it like that. I would say that when you are with with Vishnu, then he's already there. He doesn't need to be separately with you. He comes, of course, it's the same Vishnu, isn't it? It's the Shiva-Dakshai Vishnu himself in every living entity. So he needs to expand himself only when you are in the material world, I'm guessing, but I'm just speculating.
Okay. Okay.
Thank
Just
you
one
for
more
that.
question. On when it's japa time, do you think we connect to the super soul mode during japa time, or is it just our figmentation of our mind when we kind of some thoughts come to our mind?
Okay, interesting question again. See, it's like this, Hema Mataji. When we are chanting devotees, Chaitanya Mahaprabhuji's path, we are generally not so much thinking about the super soul. We know about the super soul. We totally appreciate that he is within us, but our focus is either on Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or Krishna or Radha Krishna rather.
Yes.
So this is where I'm talking about myself. That's what our thoughts should be. And it is said, this is something interesting that I heard in a class, which I will share with you, that when we say that when the yogis meditate, the perfection of the meditation is that they can see the super soul within their heart. So the yogis are seeing the four-armed form of Shiva-Dakshai Vishnu in their heart.
Yes.
But the devotees, if devotee sees the Lord in their heart, who do they see, you think?
Shyamasundar.
They see Shyamasundar. And then not just that, so initially when the devotees, initial stage, they will see Shyamasundar. But then it is said that as the devotee gets deeper, he sees Radha and Shyam together.
Yes,
And then even deeper, he will see Radha and Krishna with all the gopis and the associates together. Heart is full of Vrindavan then.
Right. Okay. Right. So then in that case, there is one more question. Sorry about this. Is Bhishma, we were reading Bhishma Deva's pastimes, and Bhishma Deva is wanting to see the four-handed form of Krishna as he's leaving his body. And I thought he is a devotee. Why did he not want to see the Shyamasundar version then?
Sure. So the devotees also, Krishna's devotees, you have, for example, devotees who are attached to his Dwarka form, right? Then it will be the four-arm form. So his very opulent form is some devotees, and Bhishma's interaction with Krishna was like that, right? It was all in the Dwarka pastime. So this is where his heart was. But if you ask somebody from Raja, they would not be interested in that. They of course would be in Shyamasundar holding the flute.
Yes.
Right? But
Thank
they're
you
both
so
equally
much.
fine. There's nothing wrong with either.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji. Very nice. Thank you.
Thank you, Hema Mataji.
Hello, Prabhuji.
Yes, Puja Mataji.
I may be wrong, but I heard from somewhere that the super soul is the four-handed form of Krishna, of Narayana rather.
Yes, super soul in your heart. Exactly. Super soul. See, first of all, super soul is not different from Krishna, right? You have to see it's all Krishna's expansions. So yes, traditionally, even in the pictures you will see within the heart, it is said that it is or in the region of the heart, it is the four-armed Vishnu. But as I was explaining, according to your bhav, Krishna will reveal himself to you. So if your bhav is Radha and Krishna, he will reveal himself as Radha and Krishna.
That is so wonderful when that happens.
Amazing, amazing. Can you imagine when I was reading that Mataji was one of Prabhupada's disciples speaking, and I had tears in my eyes, thinking, my goodness, imagine seeing in your heart the whole scene of Vrindavan with Radha and Krishna and the gopis and the cows and the gopas within your heart. That was just amazing.
But suppose when devotees see such a form in their heart, can they sort of like tell others, or it's up to themselves? They keep it to themselves. They don't talk about it or anything.
Yeah, good question. See, devotees, when they're at that stage, they are so elevated that they will be very humble. They'll be very, very humble. And they will think that if I say this to somebody, somebody will think I'm being a sahaja. Because sometimes you have this, right? Many sahaja. Sahaja means people who are pretending to be, without the qualification, pretending to be something. So we have sahajas in India, for example, who say, "Oh, I got a dream yesterday that I was a gopi," and from the next day he starts to wear a sari and go around in town, right? And there's a kind of sahaja mentality where it's just not. You haven't got that qualification yet, so don't pretend what you are not. But when such a devotee is in such a high elevated stage, and he is doing the darshan of the Lord within himself, he will not be eager to start shouting about it. You know what I mean? He becomes very humble, and very soon he goes back anyway.
Okay. Okay. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Okay, I'm just looking at the chat to see if there are any questions. Yes, the Hemamata is saying we need to chant intensely with the absorption and aspire to see Radha and Krishna. Exactly. This should be our mood. Let me just one day be with you. Let me, I know when things as it is, we are chanting his names, Radha and Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. There's no difference between that. The names, the vibrations are the same as Radha Krishna. So if we keep our focus in that, one day he will reveal himself in that form. He's dancing on our tongues anyway, but we're not able to perceive that yet. But one day he will give us the intelligence to perceive it. Any other questions, comments? Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for your time. Again, best of luck for the marathon. Get involved. Let's do our best and please Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you,
Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you,
Thank you,
Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare Krishna.
Thank
Hare
you,
Krishna.
Prabhu. Hare Krishna,
Hare
Prabhu.
Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Jyoti Mataji, thank you so much again for your wonderful service for recording. Okay, devotees, till next time. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Rupa Mataji. Hare Krishna.